Welcome back to Spraguer Homestead. I'm Nikki, and this week we're going to be talking about 5 things you should be doing to try and keep your feed bills low. So we talked about this on a live stream recently, and I know the feed prices are starting to climb for everybody right now. I don't know of anybody who hasn't been affected yet by feed prices. If you are raising any kind of livestock, whether that's quail all the way up to cows. Hay prices here in the West have been really high during the drought. And then, of course, we're hearing that corn and wheat and soybeans and all this fun stuff have had really bad yields this year. So feed prices are going up. So there are 5 things that you can be doing right away that will help try and keep your feed bills low. We'll do another video that talk about some ideas on things you can be doing, but these are just kind of 5 generalized things that will help you get your animals in a good position to maximize the feed you're feeding. So the first thing you want to do is keep them healthy. If somebody looks like they might, bad coats, looking a little thrifty, it might be time to go in and do some deworming, do a parasite treatment for everybody. Maybe they need to, get caught up on their CDT or whatever their shots are. But you want to make sure that those animals are in good health. Sick animals tend to burn a lot more feed than what they actually get out of it. So it's never a good idea to just kind of let things linger. We usually try not to do that anyway, but sometimes it happens where maybe you're not really looking at the fact that goat's coat doesn't look so good. So go through and make sure everybody is just in the peak of health. And sometimes that means literally laying hands on everybody, right? But go ahead and get those preventative type stuff all taken care of. And surprisingly enough, and most people don't really think about this, things like cutting feet, like getting toenails done, whether it be rabbits or goat, really does impact how they do as far as feed and everything. Rabbits will lose weight if they have sore hocks. If they're not moving around much because their feet hurt, their feed intake will change. So go through and make sure everybody is up to date on maintenance, and that'll go a long way towards making sure that they're eating the way that they should. The second thing is get everybody to an optimal weight. If you've got some thin animals either going into summer or going into winter, you're going to have a whole lot more trouble getting them back up to where they should be. Winter especially, if it's cold at all, it takes a lot more feed to get those animals to gain weight and get back to where they should be. On the other side of that, fat animals tend to hog the feeder, and they tend to change their metabolism rate in such a way that they don't metabolize correctly. So you want to get them back into where they're supposed to be, an optimal weight, so that they are utilizing the feed effectively. Fat animals also tend to flush nutrients when they're eating feed, so they don't take in everything. And that's no good, right? If you're paying for it, you want them to get most bang for your buck. So if you've got fat animals, now is the time to get them dieted down to where they need to be. If you've got feed hogs, you might have to move them over into their own area for feeding and make sure that the thinner animals are able to keep at an optimal weight. But get them to where they should be. And I'll probably do a video coming out soon that kind of explains how to evaluate some of these animals. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, some people think a goat is a goat is a goat, and there's huge differences in weight in goats, and they can be kind of tricky to tell. So 3, and nobody ever likes this if you're a dairy goat breeder, get them off of grains. Ruminants don't need grains, whether that's cows, sheep, or goats, or llamas, and there's lots of different ruminants. They don't need grains. We are addicted in this country a lot of times to feeding grains that they don't need. A treat here and there is one thing, but the number of people that I see that grain goats every single day, it's not necessary. In fact, they've done studies that show ulceration in the stomach lining from grains, and they ferment and they do different stuff. These animals were designed for shrubs, grasses, that sort of thing. Give them back their natural diet. Yes, if they are used to grain, you will see some weight loss and you will see some issues. Sometimes, depending on how you go about it. I never suggest cold turkey, right? Wean them off. But a lot of times you'll see some weight fluctuations in the beginning as they readjust, their body readjusts to the changes. But in the long run, it will pay off huge. It's better for the animals anyway, and with the way that feed prices are going up, I know grass hay is pretty high right now, but it's still cheaper than what we're starting to see for things like goat grains and that sort of thing. So cut those ruminants off of those grains. Number 4 is provide the right minerals. And this is part of why we see so many people graining. They've got this idea that the only way to get the animals to take the right mineral is to wrap it in molasses and let them have it. A loose mineral is so much better. Remember that not every animal needs the same intake, right? So just like people vary wildly on their mineral absorption rates, so do animals. So what works for goat A may not work for goat C, may not work for sheep D. A free choice mineral will allow the animals to eat what they need. And part of the reason you want to make sure that they're getting those minerals is because if they're not getting them out of a loose mineral, they tend to overeat other things trying to get those nutrients. So always make sure that you have a mineral available. There are some species like chickens, you're just going to get it in your feed. Rabbits, you're just going to get it in your feed because I've talked before about how much I hate those mineral spools. They're just little dirty bacteria magnets. But as far as big animals are concerned, absolutely loose mineral is the way to go. They get what they need. What you'll see is a huge uptick in the beginning of it. They'll go through a ton of it. But then they'll start to wean themselves off as they start to achieve balance. The thing with mineral is the feed stores almost never run out of mineral, but they do run out of feed. So if you can get them on a good mineral to take the place of that, get them off of those grains, you will have healthier, better looking animals in the long run. All right, the 5th thing, and the thing that nobody wants to ever think about, is cull out the unnecessary. And I know this is really hard. And remember that culling does not always mean terminal, right? If we've got 3 or 4 old lady goats that really, really are dragging the feed bill down, and it happens. I have one that is a 10-year-old that we have to grain through the winter to keep her going because she just can't hold condition. If you've got several, or it's really dragging on your pocketbook, cull it out. And if you don't want to eat it, and I understand that, culling doesn't always mean terminal. So you can try and find it a new home. There are people that maybe they just want a goat in their backyard to tinker with, or obviously 2. They always need a friend. But my point is, you can find somebody who maybe is in a different position, doesn't mind the extra feed bill, and will give them a good home for life. Sometimes it's painful for us as homesteaders to give stuff away, right? We pay money, we invest our time into it. And like right now, the market, at least in our area, is horrible for goats. If I had to get rid of them, I would give them away. And that's simply because at this point, you have to start asking yourself, can I hold out for $50 or $100 or whatever that goat is worth to me? And a lot of times we think they're worth more than they actually are. Or can I just save that amount in feed? So you kind of have to ask yourself that. If you're holding extra roosters, maybe it's time to cull them. Older laying hens that aren't as productive, same thing. If you've got all the money in the world and you don't mind the high feed bill, that's fine, but you probably aren't watching this video either. So cull out anything that's unnecessary, whether it be maybe an extra rabbit doe you don't need, or those older chickens, or maybe you've got that goat that is past her prime and looking for a retirement home. All right, guys, that's my 5 things that you should be doing right now to start getting ready for high feed prices. They're already hitting most of us, but these will help try and get your animals in an optimum position to where those feed dollars that you're spending are actually, you're getting the most bang for your buck out of them, right? If we're going to pay for feed, we want to get the most that we can out of it. We'll do another video talking about things that you can be doing as far as, growing stuff or feed strategies or whatnot. We'll do another video for that coming up in probably a couple weeks. But if you have questions, go ahead and leave them down below. maybe I missed the mark. What does everybody else think? If you've got a better idea or things that you think you should be doing or people should be doing instead, feel free to leave them down below. I love to see everybody's comments, and you can always send me an email at srhomestead@yahoo.com. Send me a message on Facebook, Instagram. I'm all over the place. But that is it for this week, and I think it's time for me to go actually do some feeding. Happy homesteading. We'll see you next time.